Welcome back to another live stream. Let's bring my microphone over. Oh my gosh, way to segue in tonight, Keith. It is great to have you guys here. It is nice to be on live stream tonight, 2 weeks in a row. I haven't had 2 weeks in a row in a while, so I'm very excited tonight to be with you guys. Thank you so much for attending these live streams. I see new people popping in. We will say hi here in the chat in just a few moments. Let's figure out why I do not have what is going on here. Why do I not have my chat on my monitor? Interesting. Move this back over here. So good Tuesday to you. It is 4 o'clock. In some places, it's probably a different time because it is spring forward. Then we'll put the clocks back later, so it's Pacific Daylight Time. And so I actually changed the logo so you can see in the still image right here up where it says the live show. It says Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I guess I've been confused my whole life. Pacific time, Pacific Daylight Time. I know they're two different times, but that's when we are on. We were a few minutes early tonight, so just say hi. We are recording and we are on the air and we are streaming at streaming high. And you can see that costs you about 6.10 megabytes a second. And you can actually from the ATEM go even higher than that. So you can do hyperdeck low, hyperdeck medium, hyperdeck high, which takes a lot more bandwidth, but that's what I'm streaming at. So thank you so much for joining me. And we're just going to wait just a few more minutes and we will talk about where we're going. I just want to say that I am healing. Those of you that know, I broke my ankle. This is week 6 since my fall. And next Tuesday, I'm supposed to go back and see the doctor. That will be 6 weeks since my surgery, a little over 6 weeks from my surgery. My surgery was on a Friday and my fall was on a Thursday. So coming up this Thursday, it will have been 6 weeks since my fall. And the following Tuesday will be, actually, no, almost 6.5 weeks from my fall. Anyway, I'm so confused, but I have been healing slowly. So my foot is feeling pretty good. My ankle's feeling decent because when I fell, I twisted my foot all up and really hurt that part of my body. But I have some stitches on the inside of my foot that aren't healing that well. So I've been running around the last couple days with the bandage on that and a sock. Days before that, I just was resting. So it's kind of hard to get around the studio. So I've been in here all day. I have my, oh, let's see. Do I have a picture of that? Let's see if we can just pop this up on the air. Where is it? See if I can find this shot. There you go. We'll zoom in a little bit here, and then I'll cut to my desktop. That didn't work. What did I do? Laptop. I cut to my PC. So there is my handy dandy little scooter. So for whatever it's worth, that's what I've been getting around with as of late. So there is my knee rover. Let's just pan around a little bit just for the fun of this. So there is my basket and my handlebars. And I just put my bad knee right there, and my good foot helps me zoom around the house. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So it's been great to be able to get around more. I've been out the last couple of weeks. I've been out maybe for a couple rides with my wife, Shannon. And then I actually was able to go to our gathering on Sunday night. And I ran sound, even though I had help. I'm training someone to run sound. And so I've been able to do both. So, okay, so let's jump into the chat. Skycam is off the air. Let's fix this so you're not seeing my Skycams and you're only seeing chat. Chat should be ready here. So chat on the air. Grish was in here really early, so welcome, Grish. Grab the front row seat. Tony checked in and said that he's going to miss the first hour, so we're going to miss Tony from Quick Tech Solutions for the first hour. He now has some commitments on Tuesday, but he usually joins us before the end of the night. I had this little note up, so yeah, please, thank you so much for joining me tonight for the live stream, and take a minute to answer the poll. The poll is tonight, do you currently use friction arms or magic arms? Now, Hank asked me what they are, so these are, well, you can just answer if you don't know what they are, then you probably, your answer is no. We're going to talk about those tonight, so we'll come back to that. Also, hit the like button. It really does help the algorithm, and I would really, really appreciate that. Let's see who else. Grish loves the music, and he was singing the lyrics, pretty catchy, easy for you to remember. So thank you for enjoying the track. It took a long time to find it. I was listening to different tracks for a few days. Bert, is great to have you. Sorry I can't be with you today. Prior engagement, installing ATEM constellation. Would a patch panel be beneficial? A patch panel. Yeah, I mean, if you have, you're talking about one of the Blackmagic Design patch panels that they have. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. You're installing ATEM constellation, so you can, it just depends on where you're trying to send the different outputs. So I don't know that you'll need a patch panel. Maybe I just need a little bit more feedback. It's good to have Halen, my granddaughter, tonight. She actually got to stay with us this last weekend, so it was great to hang out with Halen. So hi to you tonight. Wow, it's good to have our good friend from Australia. Before we hit the bucket, I'm going to let him post his name in the chat tonight so you guys will know that's a channel name change. And so if you want to hang out with a really good photographer and his wife and tour Australia in a vehicle and a tow behind RV, then that's the person for you. Good to have you, Tim, from Melbourne, Australia. That's awesome. 9 a.m. Thank you for getting up and enjoying this live stream together with us. Yeah, we talked about my leg. My leg is getting better. The stitches on the inside are not healing that well, but they're almost healed. So I had an incision about that long that goes around the top of my heel. And here's the reveal. It's David from Australia. For those of you that did not know that David Ostler changed his channel to before we kicked the bucket. And go over to his channel, hit the like and subscribe and listen to his story. He tells the story of why he changed his channel name. So I'm not the only one who has had moments, let's just say, this year. So it's good to have you, David, on the channel tonight. And David's been attending for a lot of time. So that's everybody. So let's see. Make sure I did not miss anybody else. So here's that question from Hank asking about what friction arms and magic arms are. And we're going to actually do a unboxing of a newer magic arm. Some people call them magic arms. So Neewer and SmallRig call them magic arms. A little bit different technology. That's what I have all of my cameras mounted on. We're going to unbox one here on the desk in just a few minutes, so stay tuned. We're going to compare all three. I have a Manfrotto Friction Arm. It uses friction in the main, I call it the main elbow joint. So basically the way it works, on this end, there's a clamp that goes on your desk or on a pole. They use them with the poles, auto poles that go up and down from the floor to the ceiling, from the across the ceiling. I have a super clamp right here on the pole, auto pole right here, and I have a video here on my channel. I will make a note here to put that in the description tonight. One of my top performing videos. So I have a great video maker 50RS there. I'm hooked into an auto pole with a super clamp. And then we'll look at a super clamp here in a minute. And then I have another one on the other end of that pole. And so you can do auto poles across the room as long as you don't put too much weight on them. And then you can do auto poles from the floor to the ceiling. And then if you have two of them from floor to ceiling, you can use two super clamps and then attach a bracket to hang paper or backgrounds on or green screen on. So a great tool, very portable. You can get them different lengths. You can even buy extensions. So Manfrotto makes what they call friction arms, and SmallRig and Neewer, who I also have tonight, we're going to be opening a magic arm by Neewer. I've already opened one, and I have it mounted over here, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute. And then I have a SmallRig on this side, and then on the floor I have a Manfrotto Friction Arm that I took off of this corner today. And then I have a brand new Neewer Magic Arm in the box. So we are going to compare all three of those tonight and talk about how important that is. Now, you may go, wait a minute. You're not talking about HybridX. You're not talking about all the stuff that was released at NAB. And there are lots of cool things released at NAB. And there's plenty of videos out there on that stuff. And we talked about two of my most interesting products that I'm interested in. And that is the new ATEM Extreme ISO G2 Generation 2 and the new HybridX Shuttle 4K Pro, I believe it's called. And so we talked about those last week. So if you didn't get a chance to watch last week's, pop back over to last week's live stream and check that out. And there's great links in that video description. I even put John Barker's interview at NAB in Las Vegas. I put that link in the description of last week's live. There's other links in the description. You can go over to Blackmagic Designs page and look at the whole release conversation that Grant from Blackmagic Design had. So lots of cool things there. But tonight we're going to talk about magic arms and friction arms. And then I'm going to talk about what I have coming in the mail later this week. I already got two things. One thing's in the mailbox. Another thing is behind me, which we're going to look at before we get done tonight. And I have 3 new items coming in the mail this week. And they will hopefully all be with me live next Tuesday. So you want to make sure you put next Tuesday on your calendar after the Easter holiday weekend. And I hope you guys have a great time celebrating this weekend and that you stay safe if you're traveling. So let's go back here, chat on the air. Hank says, I looked them up on Amazon and now I can vote. Yeah, so the poll tonight is, do you currently use friction arms or magic arms? And there are 75% of you saying no and 25% yes. There is 8 votes. So we usually get between 8 to 12 votes. So we'll leave that up for a while longer to see if anybody else pops in. Ernesto, it's great to have you in the live stream tonight. Thank you for joining me and our guests tonight in the live stream and those who are listening after this goes up on YouTube Live. Now, if you do want to chat with us and you're not able to, I do have subscriber-only chat enabled. What does that mean? That means that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you can't chat during the live streams. But if you do subscribe, within 1 minute, you'll be able to chat with the rest of us. That's primarily set and turned on to stop people coming in and just spamming the chat and then leaving. In reality, I just want people that are having a conversation with me and each other and enjoying the live stream to be able to be in the chat. And so as soon as I post my live streams, people can chat and they can chat all the way up until a few minutes after it's off the air. And so thank you so much for joining in tonight in the chat and answering the polls. Because it's one more way to get good feedback and see how interesting these videos are. So, okay, so let's jump right in. It's not quite quarter after, but I did start about 2 minutes early tonight. So we're going to get rolling here. Okay. Let's see, where do I want to start? Let's just talk real quick about how you use these devices. Let's go to this view here. Let me turn chat off here and this camera back on. Let's see, what camera do I need here? Not that camera, I need this camera. And let me see if I can find the right angle here. There we go. I'm gonna change mics. I now have, ooh, that's hot. Man, that's hot. Check. How is that? I'm still getting feedback from my headphones. Okay, cool. Little hot still. Let's bring that down. Test, 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 test. Okay. So friction arms are perfect for mounting cameras or web cameras to your desk. You can also mount them to poles. I've been using these friction arms for a while in my studio, and I like Manfrotto different equipment. I've had Manfrotto tripods before, and have a Manfrotto auto pole in my studio. So I'm a big fan of Manfrotto, and I like the idea of their friction arm. So let me get my friction arm out. And so the interesting thing about the Manfrotto is you loosen this bracket and everything moves. So the camera mount moves, the super clamp moves, and it's got a knuckle right here. And then these have a slot in them right here. You guys should be able to see that. If I keep it to me, I know it's going to be in focus. So it's got a slot right there. So if you want to get it at a 45, you can. Same as up here. slot right here. So this can be flipped around all the way like that. And so it's got the camera screw right here, and Manfrotto just uses a friction. There's no teeth right here. And we're going to compare these side by side. So I've had 4 or 5 of these. I've had to rebuild them because when you put a camera on it with a bigger lens, and my mirrorless cameras are lighter, but my old DSLRs, my Canon 5D Mark III and my Canon 5D Mark IV are heavy. These are not light. I mean, it's heavy in my hand. And with a big lens on it, I'm using my 3 variable lenses tonight, so I just put a little 50 mil on it, the cheaper lens. And you can see, if this had a big lens on it, this is a lot of weight on top of one of these brackets. And what I noticed, if you have a monitor on top, a confidence monitor on top of the camera, and then like this main camera, which still has a Manfrotto Friction Arm on it, and last week it fell down. I was messing with it and it fell down, it was out of adjustment. I readjusted it today, and this arm is going away. And the box that we're gonna open tonight, that Neewer Magic Arm is gonna replace this friction arm. And the main difference between a Magic Arm and a friction arm is this joint right here. It uses friction. And what I noticed is that the more you tighten this up, this heavy plastic with an embedded ring in it with screws so I can thread it, eventually breaks. It's just so much torque from this handle to try to tighten this up. And what happens is that this joint seems to give way, especially if you have it on the back of a desk. Let's adjust this. A lot of times I'll have it in the back of a desk and I want to have this all the way out. And then you put all that camera weight on it, and then a monitor on top of that, and then a prompter hanging off the front of your camera, like this setup right here. And I'll show you guys that in a minute here with my mobile cam. So that friction arm gives way right here. And so I replaced one of these about a year ago with a SmallRig Magic Arm, and it has little teeth right here. So when you tighten this sucker down, this tightens up with friction, this tightens up with friction, that joint. But this joint right here is using teeth. And I think there's friction in there as well, right? Because you're tightening it up. But the teeth keep this from moving. So I never have problems with the joint right here with Magic Arms, but I do have a problem with it with these Manfrotto arms. So the model number of this one is 244N. And you can see right there, it says Manfrotto on it. And so this is the Manfrotto Friction Arm. And basically the camera bracket is one piece. It's one piece, so you can buy that separate. You can also take off the super clamp. So we're gonna loosen this piece right here. And then after that gets loose, you can push this spring right here. And if you have this loosened up enough, this will pop right out. And so these also have the ability to go either direction. So this is basically the friction arm. This is the super clamp. And super clamps come from the factory with this little rubber piece that makes it flat. So this would how you'd have it if you wanted to put it on a pole. And this is how you'd have it if you want to put it on a desk. So this piece just plugs in here in 2 little holes. Let's see if I can get out of the shot. If you guys can see that, I'll show it when we get on my desk cam because it will focus. So this piece, and this piece, it's about $168 from Amazon, where a Magic Arm is about $100, either a Neewer or a SmallRig. And I bought the Neewer this week instead of the SmallRig. I bought 2 of them, and they were delivered this week because I wanted to see if they were identical to the SmallRig. So Neewer and SmallRig's Magic Arms looked identical. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna pop this sucker back together again real quick. And I'll show you one major difference in a little bit that I noticed today when I was playing with these. So we'll put the super clamp. So you can use these with the adapter it comes with, and just screw lights. That's how I attach lights on my auto pole, is I just use one of these adapters, and it's got both type threads on each side. And so you can thread it in right here, or you can drop it in the slot right like that, and push the spring and set this down. Now this is a newer bracket, and I've noticed that there's a little bit of different size, but this should pop in. So this super clamp is the Manfrotto. It says Manfrotto stamped right on it up there, just stamped in. And so if I push the spring right here, that drops in. So I have two types of thread on either side. So I could use this for like a slider and clamp it to a pole. Again, gonna have to have it really tight, better on a table. So if you just need to mount a slider or some other device, and then I have another type of thread on that side. So I can screw the 1/4 inch thread right in there on the top and not have to use it. So I could have this screwed in here, and I could have something else coming out of here. If I wanted to, I'd have to extend this. But the other thing about this is that under here, let's take this out and I'll show you. The larger thread screws together so I can extend these. So for whatever reason, there's just a lot of different things you can custom arrange these. So I do really like this product. And for lighter weight stuff, I think it's perfectly fine. I usually have a rebuild kit somewhere in the house. I think I did just use my last rebuild kit, and you basically, all the parts and a new handle come, and I can't remember how much it costs, but Manfrotto sells the kit and you can rebuild it. And so I think I've owned 4 of these total. I've got my Skycam right there on one coming off of that corner shelf. I've got my Skycam up here on just a super clamp, no friction arm. Have a friction arm right there, and then I have a SmallRig right there and a Neewer right there. And for right now, one of my 2 Manfrottos that were on the desk is down now. I've already had to replace 2 of them, and all of the desk cameras are going to go to either a Neewer or a SmallRig device. So I'm going to set this down for right now, and then we're going to go to this new view right here. Put my camera down. Oh. And we're going to get ready to unbox this. So let's go. We have my desk view right here. And so let's just look at the chat real quick. I'm not going to display it, but let me just double check. GPB, it's good. GBP, it's good to have you. I see you did a message and then retracted it. So just wanted to say hi. And okay, so let's unbox this so you guys can actually see. You can see this is the Neewer. This is the size of the box, just a plain box. You got information, barcodes to go to TikTok, neewer.com or Facebook. So you could just scan these right now if you wanted to go check these out. So I'll put that on the screen. Let's turn it around. But stay here with me for a little bit. So again, on that side, it says Neewer. On the back, it has some basic information and tells me that it's a 20.8 7-inch device, so it's not in metrics. So you have some basic information back here. Size is, here's the metrics, 386 by 219 by 80 millimeters. And it's just a basic cardboard box, nothing fancy. So we are gonna cut the seal. I did open one of those today to take the picture from my still image, but this one I have not opened, so let's unbox it. I'm not gonna ride my scooter with a knife today, so I'm using a paper clip to open this up. Okay, there we go. So let's open the box and try not to change camera views. So there you go. So on this side, you have the super clamp. And again, this is by Neewer. You have the little booklet right here. And got a nice foam top here to protect it. Just simply comes out of the box. And then you got cut foam here. So if you're gonna take these in a bag or a box or inside like a case, then they already have the cutout, so you could save these and build a Pelican box, or I really like the Nano cases, my favorite. But you can see there's all of this information in different languages. And again, those barcodes are scan codes on the back, phone number in the US, email in the US, neewer.com. So that's the little manual. So then this is that little adapter it comes with. So this is the one from the other one I opened up today. Comes in this little Ziploc bag. So there you go. Get that in front of the camera. And what I noticed is these have a wedge in them, and I really like that because when you're tightening them down, that wedge helps. So rather than being round, they have a flat edge, and that really does help for things twisting inside. So that is huge. I love that. And so there are two of them for two magic arms. So now let's get the magic arm out first. And we'll let you guys see that. So there's Neewer UA08018 is the model number. And let's change the lighting here to, let's see, which one do I like the best here? Camera 1, maybe? Yeah, a little better light. Not on me, but on this. So the handle's different. This has got more of a grab with your hand and turn it, and then you can see the teeth. So here are the teeth I was talking about, where the Manfrotto, and I'll show these side by side on the desk here in a minute. The Manfrotto has no teeth. It has a disc in there that helps create friction. So if you loosen this up enough, then the teeth will separate. So you're gonna have to pick a position and then tighten this up. But you can see these ends move as well. And let's move this camera out just a little bit here. I just tried to grab my battery or my magnet from my, and it pulled it off. It pulled the magnet right off of my mic. Let's try that again. Still a little bit hot. Check, check. Okay. So So these actually are loose, and this piece spins, and then you can put it in the slot and turn it any direction. So both of these will turn around. And then when you tighten down the arm, these are tight now. So pull the clamp, super clamp out. Here is the super clamp made by Neewer. Again, like I said, the SmallRig looks almost identical to this, though I'm not going to be able to show you side by side. I am going to show it to you on the desk and show you how they look identical. All of these features look identical. And then here's the piece that pulls out. And then you can actually store it right here. You can snap it in there, but when they're new, they're really tight. And I didn't want to fight it. So, and you can still use it, the handle, to tighten up the bracket. So we'll just pop this in here, loosen this up again. Here's the flat edge. We're going to use that flat edge. Okay, it's in there. Going to tighten this down on the flat edge. So not only are there flat edges on these, there's also flat edges on those. So let's loosen that up. So here's the flat edge. You spin it around, you can see the flat edge on that side. And then this one has a flat edge to match. Okay, so then we'll pull the camera bracket out. And this is the camera bracket. So has a little washer right here. This slides up and down. This side hooks on. Quite a bit different from the Manfrotto bracket. So that's all that's in the box. We're going to move this stuff for a second. Put the box down here on the floor. So let's take this camera bracket off. And we're going to take the super clamp off. And let's fold this up and show you guys there is a difference in length. So there you go. You can see that the Manfrotto is the same length. Yeah, I guess they're actually the same length. I thought one was bigger than the other. Let's just compare them. They look identical in length. The big difference is these camera brackets. This Manfrotto has 2 holes. It's not as long. It also has the screw and this rubber tightening bracket, which is really nice to ratchet things tight, where this has a little washer right there to help cinch it tight. So it shouldn't be too deep for most cameras or devices. This one would be too deep if it did not have this on it. So that's the biggest difference. Besides, one has teeth, this one doesn't. This has the pad in the middle, this has teeth. This has the round handle, this has this type handle. So the SmallRig and the Neewer are pretty much identical. See, that says Neewer right there. This super clamp is a UA018. And This is a 0 UA018. So this is all sold as a set. But these are interchangeable. So I could put this Neewer bracket on my Manfrotto. It has a flat edge too. So they are interchangeable. I could also take the Neewer and screw it in here so the thread size is universal. So you got the smaller thread on that side, the larger thread on that side, because that can thread right in there. So you can see the difference in the length. And I like the shorter bracket better. That's about the width of the bottom of a DSLR. But this gives you more reach. So you could slide it all the way out here, which give you more reach. So if you had this on the back of your desk, clamped on the back of your desk, this would give you that extra reach coming out from your desk to get that camera closer to you. So, okay. So that is, let's take this camera bracket off. So those side by side. So those side by side, these camera brackets side by side. Slide this over as far as we can. And then here are the super clamps side by side. So they both have the feet that go in here. This one says Neewer and this one has Manfrotto subscribed right here where you can't see it. So if you don't like to advertise, the Manfrotto is more less labeled. But again, they both have the ability to tighten them up. We'll compare the spread of this one. That's as wide as it will go, right about there. And this one has a maximum right there. So we'll compare those. They look identical in length. There's the top of both of them. Here is the back of both of them. Of course, I have the plastic mounted right there on the Manfrotto. The same thing happens right here. So now I have the table bracket inside both of those. So almost identical. There's that side. There's that side, side by side. So they seem to be almost identical. So I love these camera brackets and they do the job. So for whatever it's worth, if you have a Neewer or a Manfrotto, the difference is the teeth, which is why I'm replacing my Manfrottos. I will be using the Manfrotto brackets for like sky cameras or mounting lighter things. These are great, but I do not feel super comfortable with these friction designs in this knuckle right here, where I much rather have the teeth to take a position and not have to worry about this thing separating in the middle because it's got teeth. So that gives it extra strength. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to put this kind of back together here. And I want to show you guys the SmallRig. It's mounted to one of my cameras. So we're going to go over there with my iPhone so you guys can see it. And it's best when you insert this to mount to the flat end of this rod so that this tightens up against the flat and this will not turn. Again, so if I want to clamp it to a pole, I would use this without the adapter. But if I want to clamp it to a desk, I'm going to put pull the plastic adapter in here. But for right now, we're just going to have this like this. Take the camera bracket. We'll pop it in here as well. Please stand by. Okay. So there's kind of what it looks like. And now we're going to set this down for a minute. Get this Manfrotto stuff off of my desk. Let's plug in my mobile cam. I'm going to be using the Black Magic Camera app, which is free, so you guys can download that for iOS or for your phone. And so let's go to the Black Magic Camera app. There it is. I got all the readouts on here, but I have it set to clean display out. So let's do this. So now you have a remote cam. And so again, I love the teeth that are right here on the Neewer. And so you can see this is the Neewer. The handle has that little screw area sticking out. You can see the camera bracket. You can see what these knuckle joints look like. There is the slot right there that you can turn it sideways in. But here's a really good close-up of what this Neewer version looks like. Nice rounded edges there. The bolt, the nut, these silver with the black. And there's what the Neewer bracket super clamp looks like. So now if we go over here to my SmallRig, you can see it says SmallRig right there. You can see that's the same kind of knuckle joint. There's the threads. Let me turn my light on here. Add some more light. Come down here and you can see there's the knuckle joint. There's the teeth. Let's put these side by side. There's the camera bracket, nice and long with one slot. And here's the camera bracket with one slot, nice and long. There's the little screw in the bottom. You can see up there, the little screw in the bottom with the same plastic deal. As far as I can tell, these are completely identical. Sorry about that. There is the clamp. It says SmallRig on it. And here is the clamp. This one does not say Neewer anywhere on it. So literally identical. And there you can see, I don't have to worry about that falling down. I do not have a monitor or a prompter, but this is the one that falls down. So I do have a monitor on top of my EOS R, a long lens. The prompter hangs off of that. And there is, let me put some light that direction. There is the Manfrotto super clamp holding up my camera right there. And it is clamped on the back of my desk back there. So it's really hard to show you all that. So that is a Manfrotto friction arm. This is the other Neewer clamp to the back of my desk. I used to have it clamped right here. Today I've moved it to the back of my desk because I don't have to worry about that joint giving away. So there's that camera with a monitor on top, and it holds it no problem. And then obviously we'll slowly go around so you guys don't get sick. Then I have my SmallRig right there. So I have a SmallRig, Manfrotto, and Neewer on my desk currently, and these guys are great. So there's the box for the one I opened up earlier today, and there's the box for the one we opened up live. So friction arms with super clamps, camera mounts, magic arms with camera mounts and super clamps give you the ability to come down from up top. So it's really nice about these brackets is you could loosen this up, put this in the slot, and then you need one more device to turn it upwards if you were going to have this hanging from a pole. So keep that in mind. If you are going to hang this down, it's great if you want to put lights on it. If you had an auto pole way up off camera and you need to bring a light down, you could just simply take this camera bracket off, and you can attach the light to this. So, and I have a bar right up here that I could hang this off right now and clamp it on. So that's why I love these. They make smaller versions of these. Let's just look at the website here really quick. Let's see, let's go camera on the other side. Yeah. So let's get this open first here. So here is the Neewer, $99, and I have Amazon associate links in the description below. So if you want to save money and buy a Neewer or a SmallRig, so you can see it's got all three brackets. Here it is on a pole, here's some different uses: lights on it, cameras on it. Giving you some examples of how to use it. Talking about how it's made. That's the parts that come in the kit. So then if you go over here, now you have the Manfrotto Friction Arm. And this is just one kit. It's $165, so you're going to pay $65 more for the friction arm. But here you can see the camera bracket, the super clamp, the little plastic thing attached right there. You can see how it just screws in, and there is the super clamp, and there are the two pieces side by side. $165. And then if you go to SmallRig, you have basically the identical type page layout, except for they have this page, giving you more details of the sizes. Again, you have the same kind of samples, very similar product page for both of these. There's the links and the information. $99 for that one. And so we'll click on this separate second picture. Then we'll go over here, click on this second picture. So different layout, but very, very similar devices. And again, I have links to all of those. And if you just want a friction arm, you don't need a super clamp, I have a Manfrotto version that just has the camera bracket and the friction arm with no super clamp. Super clamp is also linked in the description below from Manfrotto separate. Then you have a kit from Manfrotto with everything in it. And then the other two, Neewer and SmallRig, are full kits with a camera bracket, the magic arm, and the super clamp for both of those. So there you go. That is our unboxing tonight. That is the new bracket for my studio that's going to go right here on this camera tonight. As soon as I get off the air, the Manfrotto is coming down, and this new clamp is going up. And so for storing, you can just fold it up and turn this around like that. Not really an easy way to store that, but you can get it that compact. Sorry, I hit my mic. But you can get it that compact if you want to. And so, again, it's not a small item, $100. It beats $165. But if you want the friction version of these camera desk mounts, pole mounts, then you can get the Manfrotto instead of the Neewer or the SmallRig. So anyway, that's our unboxing tonight, and I hope that helps you guys know more about magic arms and friction arms. And if you Google it yourself, you're going to see that Manfrotto and Neewer and SmallRig have lots of versions of this. They have smaller versions for smaller pocket cameras, so you don't need to buy the beefy one. They all have pound ratings. But just keep in mind, if you buy the Manfrotto for $165, you don't want to put something super heavy on it because you're going to be reefing on that round handle. And eventually that, for me, has stripped out 4 times, I think now. I've stripped out 4 of them. And then what I normally do is repair them and then use them someplace else in the studio. But I bought 2 of these, so $200 rolled. Okay. So now that I can put chat back on the air, let's take the Skycam off the air here. Let's look at the chat. And NAB was good. Hope you saw it online. They had motorized rental chairs. I thought of you. Yeah, I wanted to go. Thank you, GBP. I don't know if I know your name. Please put your name in the chat. It'd be cool to have that. I may not remember it each week, but at least I can address you by your name unless you want to use your handle. Gris says, would you ever go to NAB? Yeah, I had planned on going. It was going to be a surprise. I was watching what was happening in our world. We had some points. I was just going to go ahead and buy a plane ticket, 2-way ticket, fly down for 2 days. I was going to call Jason Krantz, who I had here on the show. We did a live stream from his studio down in Las Vegas. I even ran the idea by him after I broke my ankle and couldn't go, and asked him, hey, if I had called you, would you have let me crash for 2 nights? So I was going to fly in the morning, go to NAB, register, go all day for 2 days, shoot some footage, and then stay 2 nights and then fly home. But maybe next year I will get to go. It's good to have you, Jay. Let me know if you are live streaming tonight, Jay, so that we can promote that live stream. So it's good to have you in the chat tonight. So that's all I see as far as chat. So let me share a couple things that I have coming for next week. This is a Linux Pro Ethercon RJ45 cable, 30 feet. I need this for the stage because I have a new piece of gear coming, and I'm going to show you guys that here real quick. So I have, those of you guys that know, what happened to that link? Let's see. Okay. I have another 16/8 used. I bought this on the Guitar Center, I believe. Was it Guitar Center? Let me double check here in my email. Yeah, Guitar Center. So I bought a used 16/8 stage box because I have a Studio Live console. It's the smaller version of the one displayed here. So I have another one of these 16/8 stage boxes, which you can just use cat cable. Actually, I run to it with these Ethercon cables because they'll lock in place. So I have another 16/8 stage box coming. But I also have two of these coming. So this is the Ear Mix 16M personal monitor mix. One of them is used from reverb.com, and that I bought that from reverb.com. Again, it's used, but it's never been used. So this guy had it as a backup for his system. He sold all his other in-ear mixes, hung on to this one because he was asking more for it because it was still new in the box. And so that's coming. And then I have another one that's a little used more than that one coming. So I have two ear mixes. We're going to fire those up and live next week. And I'm going to show you how you can mix on the stage with those for in-ear monitors. They also, we'll talk more about this next week. They also have two, they have an input in. So you could bring in music or a click track if you wanted to. If you're a drummer on the stage, you could actually bring in your iPhone or something like that if you wanted to listen to music while you're waiting for some other band to rehearse. Or maybe you're not up as a drummer and you just want to listen to some music, or you want to bring in music. There's also monitor out. So if you just want to have live stage monitors and be able to control them, you'd be able to control your monitor from this if you wanted to. You also have a 1/4-inch jack for headphones, and it's a really good preamp. So even deaf musicians who have burned up their ears should be able to hear through their headphones with an ear mix. And then if we go back to this picture, there's a used one of these as well that I'm trying to pick up. And this is basically NSB AB switch. So it has basically one input that you would come in from the console and then go out to 4 in-ear mixes, and it's PoE, so power over Ethernet. So I would not have to plug those in. So what I want to do is get one of these. I'm going to come in from my stage box, go up to my stage box, loop out, come into this switch, and then go out to 4 devices on the stage. And then on the other side, I want to get another one of these and go out to 4 devices on the other side of the stage. So up to 8 in-ear mixes. So I want to test them. And so we're going to be doing all that live. I'm going to have my PreSonus board in the studio. We're going to connect to both stage boxes. I'm going to have a monitor plugged into one stage box. I'm going to have another monitor plugged into the other stage box. Then I'm going to have in-ears hooked up to the console through the ports through the network. And then I'm going to have a monitor coming out of one of the in-ear mixes. And I'm going to have another monitor coming out of the other in-ear mix. I'm going to send some auxiliaries to it. Not a lot. I'm going to have maybe 2 microphones and some music playing in the studio. We'll send that to at least 2 or 3 of the channels on the in-ear mix, and then I will show you guys that you can mix monitors with it. You can mix mains with it. I may even use one of these to go to another room to be able to do 16 channels and mixing in the other room with a stage box in there as well. It keeps me from having to set up a whole nother sound system. I can just send an aux in there and then basically put a 8.8 stage box in there, because they make a smaller version of this 16.8. They make a 8 input and 8 output, and may put that in another place with a in-ear mix and use that as another sound system with speakers in another room. It keeps me from having another console. And I'm just going to send to the in-ear mix. They'll be doing all their live mixing right from the in-ear mix and be able to run their mains. So we'll see. Haven't quite decided if I will do that or not, but I do now have a new 16.8 coming and 2 in-ear mixes. And then right now I'm looking for my rep to see if they can get me a deal on a used one of these switches. Again, they are power over Ethernet. There's another company, Motive, I believe, makes a AB switch. It's not like normal network switches. It has to be AB switch, which is a Ethernet protocol that Presonus is using, but that switch is less money, but it's not PoE, so power over Ethernet. And what power over Ethernet does is let me plug a cat cable in to that switch, then to the in-ear mixes, and then I have the ability to run the audio to it and power to it. So I don't have to have any cords on the stage other than that cat cable. So we'll see how that goes. So that stuff is coming next week. So I'm excited about next week's live stream as well. But that's really all I had for tonight. I did want to highlight one thing from NAB tonight before we go. It is, right, did my clock stop? What is the deal? Nope, it is 5:03, so it's only been an hour. So I'm doing really good on time. Let me bring this device up from Blackmagic Design's site. So Blackmagic Design has also announced some new devices to decode and encode. And I touched on it last week, not going to spend a lot of time on it, but very curious device. So you can read about it. I will pop this link in the description below, but it's the main page for these two devices. So this is an encoder 4K, and this is the decoder 4K. So they used to have the streaming bridge, which was more like a converter looking device. If you've ever seen the Blackmagic Design converters, they look quite a bit different. Let's see, do I have one around here? I don't. Handy. But now they're going to these rack mountable, or they're not really rack mountable. They have a rack shelf that you can put them in there and then screw to the bottom of that shelf. But now they have a decoder and an encoder. So instead of having the streaming bridge, they've updated the streaming bridge. They're replacing it with the Blackmagic Streaming Decoder 4K. And then Blackmagic Design is going to begin to give us the ability for a price to be able to stream to devices in the cloud. So basically you can register and pay a fee and have a 8-channel HD device in the cloud, and you could send through the encoder up to the cloud and then come back from the cloud through a decoder. Why you would do that, I don't know. Cameras also can send the signal, so you wouldn't need a encoder for some of the Blackmagic Design cameras. Some of the Blackmagic Design devices will be able to stream to the cloud and not need a decoder, but again, or encoder. But if you want to have someone in another country or another state receive a signal from your studio they're going to need a Blackmagic streaming decoder on the other end, and you'd be able to send them a 4K stream to their location, or vice versa. They can stream a 4K stream to your location. So they've made a lot of improvements in this device. It's got SDI and HDMI video inputs. Here is the interface for the encoder. Similar to what the Blackmagic Design streaming bridge looked like in the day. You can see the front of this device. You got your tiny little monitor to make sure you have video and that you're streaming. And you can see you're streaming at up to 16 megabytes a second right there on that stream. And that's the front of the device. So you can see you can come out of a constellation to the cloud, and then come back again. So just wanted to point this out. So 2 different devices, and here they are. You have the encoder sending it to the cloud, and you have the decoder bringing it back from the cloud. And Blackmagic cameras have this ability built in to send it to, and that's the Blackmagic Ursa Broadcast G2. The new cameras, I believe, as well have this feature. Then you could go to the streaming encoder, out to the cloud, and then back from the cloud into your stream for whatever reason. And you could even use your phone to send that signal to the cloud by using your cellular service. So check this product out, and give me your thoughts. Again, Blackmagic Design is announcing lots of cool products, so many announcements that I don't have enough live streams in the month of April to cover it all, but I am going to be highlighting some of these devices. Just be aware that there are price changes happening because of shipping back and forth from Australia. They did start production in the United States of their Pixis camera to be able to ship in the United States and not have a huge price increase. That was the pivot that Blackmagic Design did last week. So if you want to know more about that, go read on Blackmagic's site. But they did start production of the new Pixis 12K camera in the United States, according to them. And that was to be able to bypass the tariffs. I don't know if parts will be more expensive to get everything set up, but sounds to me like they were going to be doing United States production. So they were able to make that pivot really quick. But again, here's the SDI input, 720 up to 2160 2160, 60 frames per second. And then the output. Here's some use case scenarios. You can see how you can drop them in these racks. Go away from that and let you guys see that again. Kind of an animation. Let's see if I can get that animation to roll again. Nope. So drops in these racks, and then you can screw from the bottom to hold these devices. So you can get a double and a single unit side by side, and that's pretty cool. So this would be like the HyperDeck HD, and this would be like the HyperDeck HD Plus side by side. They'd fit in the rack. There's the back. Built-in redundancy for power, and you can see I have a webcam out, live stream cat in, HDMI out, monitor out, SDI loop out, and SDI in, so you could loop out to a recorder. And again, more information about that. So the web presenter, the streaming encoder, the streaming decoder, and the web presenter right here. You see $745 for each of these devices, $569 for the web presenter HD. Here's the web presenter 4K. Here's the Constellation HD. Still have the ATEM Mini Pro, and here's the old streaming bridge. So it was only $289, but now you would replace it with this decoder right here, and it does have more features. So check out the features and let me know what you guys think about that device. Jay does have a stream, and that's 9 o'clock his Eastern time. So he is going live here pretty soon. So go check that out. It's good to have you. Akil, as always, Toto from Germany. Glenn, good to have you, and cool stuff live in Las Vegas as a production tech. Cool. So it's good to have you on the live as well. So any other questions about Magic Arms, Friction Arms, Super Clamps, camera brackets by Manfrotto, Neewer, or SmallRig? Any questions about what I'm going to be covering next week with my PreSonus live sound gear? You could use a PreSonus console inside your studio. They are great devices. You can use them as a control surface to run software on your computer. So you could run Studio Live. You could use it as a control surface for other software as well. But it's a lot easier to use it with Studio Live software or Studio One software. You can use it to record on it. It has an SD card built in, and that's the Studio Live version 3 32SC. They make a 16-channel version. They also make larger 32 consoles with more motorized faders to run your auxiliaries from. I just have my 16 faders plus my master fader, but you can get them wider. So the same 32 channel with more hookups on the back. But so I needed a stage box because my PreSonus Studio Live console that fits in a rack case, right? Mobile rack case. Of course, you could probably build something custom for the bigger consoles, but it only has 16 inputs on the back and only has 8 outputs on the back. And some of those 8 outputs are not XLR, they're 1/4 inch. So I'm going to be just running 2 stage boxes, everything digital from my board, and maybe a couple things back at the board occasionally plugged in. We'll see. Maybe definitely adapter to play music from the table, maybe obviously a talkback microphone, which it has a separate talkback plug in the back. So I don't need to use one of those 16 inputs to do that. But to get all 32 inputs, need to run stage boxes to the platform. But I can also then hook up the in-ear mixes and then power them over Ethernet. That will be really cool. Up to 4 of those can be powered from one of those switches. So if you want to have 8 on the platform, you're going to need 2 switches to power them over Ethernet. And I definitely don't want to have a bunch of extension cords on the stage when I'm doing live sound. And I am doing live sound. I actually had to turn down a big gig in May because of my ankle. So hopefully more opportunities are going to come up for me to do live sound this summer and bring some extra income to continue to build that kit, and then eventually use the extra income to do some more things in the studio, because I do want to completely remodel my studio. So, okay. Any other comments or chat, or we're going to call it a night. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Did you answer the poll yet? The question is, do you currently use a friction arm or magic arms in your studio or wherever you do video production? We had 12 votes, 25 yes, so 25% of you use them, and 75% don't. Now, if you count me, it's a little higher than 25% and a little bit lower than 75% don't. So again, great tool. The auto polls, let's bring up an auto poll here. This is B&H Photo, but you can see $176. Here is an auto pole. You can go floor to ceiling. The auto pole 2, this one will let you go. Just make sure you read the specs, because sometimes it says you can go. This says floor to ceiling. Let's see, does it say anything about wall to wall? Manfrotto has one that is supposed to be able to be used wall to wall, so I just grabbed auto pole, but that's an auto pole, so literally you can spread it out, and then pull the plunger tight, and it sticks to the wall. It's got these suction cups, and then there's a Teflon deal that goes below it that you can actually buy a bag of those that keeps it from marking your wall or sticking permanently wall, tearing the paint off. So instead of putting that rubber suction gasket up there, there's an interior Teflon deal. You can't quite see it in this picture. See if they have a close-up anywhere here in their pictures. Nope, only one photograph, but you can do your own research. So you could then use the super clamps to connect right to those poles, and then you can use with super clamps, you can use different type connections. So extension arms, if you just want to put your lights on a pole, real quick way to do photography or video, not having to have a bunch of stands. You could have a pole in the center of a room and an arm coming out one side with a light, doing your key light. And then you could have another pole over on the other side of the room doing your fill light. You could have another pole with a hair light up on top, and you could just do it just with straight up and down poles. So I know a lot of people who do photography as well as do backgrounds. They use auto poles with these super clamps, and they actually make a adapter that plugs right in to hang paper from. So you could have a bracket plugged into a super clamp that turns sideways with another super clamp and then plug into it. So again, lots of things. Check out Manfrotto's different type devices that they offer for using super clamps on auto poles. So, okay. So Tony made it back. Good to have you back, Tony. We're pretty well wrapping it up. So talked about my new, looks like an albatross when it's all closed up. My new Magic Arm by Neewer looks exactly identical. Got the camera bracket on top. So answer the poll, Tony, if you use any super clamp / Magic Arms in your studio, but there you go. This Neewer has teeth here, and the Manfrotto does not have teeth. It just uses friction, and that's why I'm replacing them, because this joint has a tendency to fall down. But again, keep in mind, if you loosen this arm, it loosens everything. So you definitely want to be holding your camera in your hand or take it off before you loosen these arms. Everybody learns that the hard way unless you listen to this video. So $100. I bought 2 of these, and I'm replacing the Manfrotto Friction Arms. You can see it just has a gasket in the middle for friction. I'm replacing this system for my camera that I'm on right now because it's supporting my EOS R, a big lens, prompter hanging off the end of the lens by Elgato, and a 7-inch monitor above that, and that gets pretty heavy. And so I am going to replace the Manfrotto with the Neewer Friction Arm. And like I showed you guys earlier, it looks like the SmallRig Magic Arm is exactly the same as the Magic Arm by Neewer. And again, the difference is Friction Arms, Manfrotto, Magic Arms, SmallRig, and Neewer, if I just said that wrong. So, okay. Well, that's all I have. Again, next week, I'm going to be hooking up the in-ear mixes that I purchased and another NSB Stage Snake by Presonus. It's a network, 16 inputs, 8 outputs. We're also going to hook up the in-ear mixes by Presonus. I have 2 of those coming. One's brand new but used, and that's coming from reverb.com in the mail right now. The 16.8 is coming from the Guitar Center, and also the other in-ear mix is coming from the Guitar Center. And the cool thing about those, and I'm negotiating right now on a switch that's used as well. So I don't think the switch will end up being here next Tuesday, but the other 3 items will, including a mount for the bottom of it that hooks on. We'll be unboxing next week that hooks on a a music stand. Either you can hook it on the top of a separate music stand and have it mobile, or you can hook right onto your boom arm mic at the base stand and then use it there right on your mic. So either way, so we're going to have a mic stand in here to hook it on, as well as a mic on a stand to hook it on. And we'll show you that bracket next week, as well as the 2 in-ear mixes. We're actually going to do a demo in the studio next week. So it should be a lot of fun. Going to have multiple camera angles, and hopefully my foot will be well enough for me to get up and go around back here, or I'll just be turning around and working from the table right behind me, because again, I am still recovering from my ankle break. So thank you guys so much for joining me live tonight. Tony says, Tuesdays, I have a standing appointment at 7 p.m. Eastern time, really impeding my ability to be here. Well, Tony, it's just great to have you as both a friend and an attender. I totally understand. My wife is working on Tuesdays until about 6 o'clock our time. And so she's still going to be working for another half hour. So it's perfect day for me to go live from 4 to 6 o'clock tonight. We're going to get done early, and I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's live stream. So Tony and anybody else that got here late, please go back and check it out. And we did an unboxing of that Neewer Magic Arm kit. And again, you can pick one of those up for $100. If you want to buy the Manfrotto kit, it's $165. If you want to buy the Neewer or the SmallRig Magic Arm, they are only $99. And again, I just purchased 2 of them brand new from Amazon. Again, I have links in the description below, so appreciate if you use those. It does help support the channel. Make sure you hit the like button. That helps me as well. And Jay just posted his live stream. So I think Jay is doing double duty. I know what it's like to get ready to go live. So go check out TVJ's live stream tonight, which starts here in just a little bit, and that's posted on his channel. And Tony is going to watch the replay. So, okay, we're going to call it early tonight. I started 2 minutes early. This is going to be one of the shortest streams in a while. Thank you guys so much for joining me live. Again, I'm looking very forward to next week. I got a lot of work to do to get ready for next week's live stream. Most of that stuff I purchased is going to be here Thursday or Friday. That's going to give me the weekend and Monday to really wrap my head around all of that. I think you guys will enjoy that that live stream next week. If you're in live sound or not into live sound, the PreSonus board could be used in a recording studio. You could use it for podcasting. And imagine, rather than running cables through a new studio, you can just run a single cat cable from your control room to your vocal booth to another room for a podcast. You could run a MADI cable as well if you want to send MADI there. But in reality, with the PreSonus boards, you could put a little in-ear mix in your vocal booth and let that person who's in there recording play with their own mix, and pretty cool. So lots of things that you can do. So it's a 16-channel in-ear mix. And again, you could do a drum mix and just send a stereo into that in-ear mix, and they can mix just the volume in that stereo mix. You could just send them a 1-channel mono, and you could do the mix on the console. They could also download the phone app, and then you could give that same drummer, right, control over his drum mix. So then he could take control. So he could be mixing his whole drum mix on his phone, and then once he gets it set the way he wants to, he'll be able to mix the whole group on the stage in his in-ear. So pretty cool stuff. We're going to talk about how you can use the app and the in-ear mixes together. Quite fascinating, all the things that you can do with that. A lot of people go, well, it's a 32-channel board. It's only got 16 auxes. That's why they have 16 channels of in-ear mix. But again, those are network channels. I can send whatever I want to those. So I could send a microphone input up to the in-ear mix if I wanted to, one of the inputs on there through my board. So lots of things that you can do. And as well as, I think these in-ears will be great tools for like side rooms for a event, like a conference. So they could just have a 16-channel in-ear mix in there to adjust their speakers, because it does have speaker outputs out of the back of it. So you could send line level to speakers, and they could have a little room on the side and adjust it. And you could also have a little 8-in, 8-out box in that room as well. And I could then set the levels of the speakers and the monitors, and then assign only what I want to that front board. So lots of things that I can do with the in-ear system. So I hope you guys will be here for next week's live stream. So that's enough about next week. Let's just roll out tonight. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy this outro. I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. Have a great Easter weekend. Please be safe, and I hope to see you guys all right back here on Tuesday next week. Until then, later.